So the theme this morning is about journeying, and as you can see on the overhead, we've gone to amazing expense, because I think that's one of two slides we've got this morning. So, we've really pushed the boat out. So we're actually wanting to hear from people about their journey to Lighthouse. So that's my first question. So just tell us briefly about your journey to Lighthouse.
Hello everybody, I'm Diana. We came to Lighthouse a few months ago. Can't quite remember when now. We came to this area quite a long time ago. I'm from Bangor. And we went away to live in Kent for years and years, and then we came back. And we have lots of children. We have 5 children all grown up. And when we got married, Jim's a Catholic, we agreed to bring up the children as Catholics, so we always went to the Catholic church. And 30 years later, I said it was perhaps my turn to choose the church, because we had previously been going to a similar church to this. So do you want to say?
We came, Jill and James are our friends, and they were coming to do some singing, so we thought we'd come along to throw tomatoes at them. But unfortunately, they were very good at it anyway, so we stayed.
Yeah, so we had such a terrific welcome when we arrived for the first time. Phil cracked a joke and caught my eye, and I just thought it was hilarious. I can't even remember what it was, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious what he said.
Yeah, I was a bit daunted, to be honest with you, because you guys seem to be plugged into the electricity. And as I characterised it, I'm used to being in the army, but not in the SAS. But I was most impressed to find that John Heaton actually is in the SAS, or was.
So the second question is slightly different to what's on there, because we're not going to ask everybody this, but just because Jim and Diana have come to the church and have got really involved with the midweek group in Moelfre, I just wanted them to explain why they come to the midweek group and what benefits they get from it.
I think the main reason why we come to the midweek groups is it's a means of getting to know people at a greater depth than you would do just coming to the service every Sunday. And going each week, you get closer and closer. And also the topics that we discuss there, it gives you a sense of well-being, and you're growing closer to God at that time. And it just allows you that time to do that which you may not have time in your busy lives to do.
Yeah, and also we did a couple of things for the community, so it's kind of an attempt to reach out to people. Yeah, but I would say the principal thing is it's very hard to love somebody unless you know them.
Jim and Diana, thank you. Amazing. You'd like to sit down? Right, we are going to move on with some more interviews. So I'm going to ask the wonderful David and Rhiannon to come up to the front. There's a theme here. They're part of our midweek group, and they're going to talk about their journeys. And Rhiannon is going to speak in Cymraeg and then English. So the two questions are, what has been your journey to join the community here at Lighthouse, and what path might God be leading you on the next season?
Dwedwch fawr iawn o wybodaeth o ba beth y gwnaethwyd hiraeth. Hiraeth hir a hiraeth creulon. Hiraeth sydd yn torri'n nghalon. Cefais fy nwyn I fyny ym Mhorthweithwy. Nes i'r ysgol yna, nes i'r coleg normal yn Bangor, nes I dysgu yn ysgol Biwmaris. Nes I briodi David, a wedyn, pen o'n i'n 38 oed, mi oedd rhaid I ni symud efo gwaith David I Lloegr. A dyma ni'n tua 3 mis ar ôl I ni symud, mi ges I droedigaeth a dod yn Gristion, a dyna'r peth gorau o fod I ffwr. Ond bob hynny oedden ni'n mynd I capel, a bob tro oedden ni'n mynd I home group, grŵp cartref, ag popeth yn iawn. Ac oedden ni ffwr am 38 o flynyddoedd. Ac yn yr 20 mlynedd dwytha, mi o'n I yn diodda yn ofnadwy o hiraeth eisiau dod yn ôl. Mi oedd David hefyd wedi disgyn mewn cariad efo Cymru a bob dim eisiau dod hefyd. Ond mi oedd yn grŵp cartref ni yn Warrington yn gweddio hefo ni. Oedd yna lot o anhawsterau i ni fethu dod yn ôl yma. Ond mi oedd nhw'n gweddio a gweddio a gweddio i ni gael ffordd i ddod yn ôl. A tra hyn oedd hyn yn digwydd, cyn i ni ffeindio cartre na dim byd, oedd David wedi ffeindio capel i ni ar yr we. Oedd hwn, we're going to go to Capel Goledi. Da ni'n mynd i fynd i Capel Goledi. So doedden ni'n mynd i sbio rownd nynlla i ffeindio capel, oedden ni'n gwybod yn ein calon na i Capel Goledi oedden ni'n mynd i ddod. Da ni'n byw mewn hen dŷ ac oedd yn borth, da ni'n ôl yn borthaethwy. Ac yna lot o waith i wneud, oedd yna damprwydd a eisiau cegi newydd. Ac doedd David a fi yn gwybod lle i ddechrau, da ni rioed i gorau wneud sort of gwaith fel o blaen. Ond mi ddaru ein grŵp ni weddio amdano ni. Ac ar ôl iddyn nhw weddio, dyma just bob dim yn disgyn i o le. A mi aru ni gael... Mae bob dim di gorffan os oes yma. Dwi'n di wneud cegin newydd a'r damprwydd wedi mynd. I was brought up in Menai Bridge. I went to school in Menai Bridge. I went to the normal college in Bangor. I was a teacher in Beaumaris Primary School. I met David in Menai Bridge. We got married. But when I was 38, David needed work away, and we moved away. And about a few months after we moved away, through my sister, I became a Christian, which was fantastic, but David thought, oh no. And started going to church, and every church we've been to, we've always gone to the home group. It's been the most important thing for us. And it was great away. We went to the Isle of Wight, and we ended up in Warrington. But in the we were away for 38 years. And in the last 15 to 20 years, I suffered terribly from hiraeth. That's it's a very Welsh word, Welsh thing people say, only Welsh people suffer from it, but I'm sure other people do too. It's a longing to get back to where you belong. And David had it too, because he just loves Wales. But we had problems how we would get back. But our home group in Warrington just prayed and prayed and prayed for us to find a way to get back here. And we moved back here. We found a house in Menai Bridge, and it's actually 3 doors away from where I lived till I was 11. And right opposite the chapel where we got married. So anyway, it's been great. And we came straight here. We knew we were coming here to this church, no question, and we just love it.
Right, how do I follow that? I can't, but yeah, I think I'm just going to run to one or two stages and key moments in our journey here. But before that journey began again, as I said, I met Rhiannon in Menai Bridge where I was studying. We got married 45 years and 3 days ago in that chapel, so we're still here. And also I didn't understand half of the service either, which was in Welsh, but I am trying to learn now. Anyway, yeah, our journey away started in 1984, and we went to Leighton Buzzard for 7 years. That's where we both became Christians there. I was 2 years after Rhiannon. How come a woman always knows best? And, you know, but it always seems to be like that. Anyway, then we moved down to the Isle of Wight, and we were there for another 7 years. And when we got down there, we were in East Cowes, and we wondered what church. And just within the first week there, we heard that there was Cowes Community Church, which was also a pioneer church, was planting into East Cowes. and we actually joined that plant, and we had 7 fantastic years there. And I suppose if I look, we had so many highlights, but I think for me one of them was when the Pioneer Group of Churches took over Wembley Stadium for a whole day of worship and praise, and 100,000 Christians actually filled that stadium. I think it was about 1996. It was an event called Champion of the World, and it was really sort of unprecedented, and that was a real highlight there. Then we came up to Warrington. I got a job up designing and building large-scale accessible websites and applications, which I was doing until I retired. And I think we took a short detour in our journey when we were in Warrington, and in 2007 we actually went. We never thought we would go on a short-term mission to Romania to work with Roma people, and we ended up spending more than 20 visits there over 10 years. That's a completely different story now. But it seems like this temporary 24 years we had in Warrington was all about just waiting for Capel Galedi to be set up and get established. And then we thought we'd come along. And that's how it seemed to happen. But so I've really enjoyed it. And as far as what God is leading us on now, I think it's just getting embedded into the community. I'm learning Welsh, and I think God prompted me to renew our season tickets for Liverpool Football Club this season. So maybe he's got a plan for them.
Okay, so prayer and healing for David. Okay, I'm going to hand over to another member of our midweek group, the amazing Hannah.
So I am probably tripling the number of slides. Huge thanks to Karen for taking them somewhat last minute. Hopefully they'll keep me more on track than Phil's countdown clock, but we'll see. So my name's Hannah. In a nutshell, my job brought me to North Wales. I'm a research ecologist, and I work for a charity that studies birds. I thought I'd wear this T-shirt just to exemplify I love birds. I think pretty much most people clocked that on my first Sunday here. As a kind of intro, I thought I'd put this picture up. So for those listening online, it's a picture of a roller coaster, and this saw me through my PhD, but I think it's applicable to the whole of life as well. And there's these different cars at different stages. At the top of the roller coaster, going down the first one, at the bottom, struggling to get up, and then up onto the next one. Or perhaps my favourite is the person who's just completely lost the car and is just clinging on for dear life. So I wonder which car you maybe would relate to most this morning. Something to muse as I go through. So I'm a research ecologist, but why? One of my passions, and I believe is a God-given passion, is that I love wildlife, love creation, and love caring for creation. So I grew up in a Christian family, and let me take you back to the beginning. So I was actually born in a country which few recognise and now no longer exists. I then grew up in Cornwall and spent many a happy day rock pooling. So this is a picture of me early on, ready with my bucket and my net, ready to go rock pooling with my parents and our dog. And this is just an example of one of the many different adventures that we went on as a family, whether that was local, whether it was abroad. And a lot of the trips that I went on as I grew up through school, but also then after as I studied in various places, was to work with Arosha. And this is a Christians in Conservation organisation. They've got sites now in 20 different countries, originating in Portugal. And as a 10-year-old and as a 13-year-old, I had the privilege of living in communities that were caring for creation, studying creation. I got to hold lots of different birds in my hand and let them fly away, helping groom the cattle and then growing food in order then we could eat it. Food that you grow and you know how long it's taken for it to grow, just tastes that bit sweeter. So as I then left school, I had the privilege of studying lots of different species. This picture on the bottom right is me holding a crab plover. Bottom left, they're an absolutely epic bird, but I won't digress any further. I then came back to the UK and had the privilege of studying seaweed or algae. As David and I have big discussions about seaweed. But I got to study this really tiny little limpet. This limpet is less than a centimetre long. And I got to study, for those that can't see, this limpet. It's called the blue-rayed limpet. I'm digressing again. Over the years, I've worked with the Russia, and the last set of species I studied was the link through a Russia to studying 2 species of storm petrel. So I moved to a small volcanic islet in the middle of the Atlantic. Took 15 minutes to walk around. I lived there on and off for a year with a team to study these little fluff balls. So they're 40 to 50 grams in weight, and these are called storm petrels. And they're, in the UK, we have one that's a bit smaller and is the smallest flying Atlantic seabird. As you might tell, I have a bit of a passion for wildlife and would love to talk about it more and would happily chat more afterwards. Before my mic gets taken away from me, I'll come back on topic to what's my front line. So all of these different adventures that I've been on over the years, studying different bits of God's amazing creation, brought me to North Wales. And those who were here last week will have heard Ken's story about how I got brought to Calford-Glady. Ken and Alison, being friends of mine, is just, I'm so thankful to them and the God moments that brought me here to a community I now call home. Heraeth is definitely strong for me as well up here in North Wales. So 9 months ago, I started my job up here, which is in a small team. There's 3 or 4 of us in the Cymru team, with a few more across the UK. And as part of my front line in the last few weeks, I've started to instigate Cake Tuesdays, which is a great excuse to eat cake, but is also a chance to kind of get the team together as a community, which I've really valued and I think has been taken on well too. I then have also been getting to know some other of the local birding people. So this bottom picture is from last week when we were catching, with appropriate licenses, catching birds and putting unique IDs on them to then see where they go. And curlew are another cracking species. And then a month ago, almost to the day, I moved into my new house, my first ever house, which is really exciting. And thank you for those that journeyed with me on that. And I've already hosted various people and looking forward to hosting more as the days and weeks and months go past. I still don't quite understand how God's brought me to North Wales, but he has, and I'm really excited to see what this next season looks like for me. I put this last slide in just as this verse has really stood out to me on the different adventures I've been on, so I thought I'd put it on. This resurrection life you received from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, "What's next, Papa?" God's Spirit touches our spirit and confirms who we really are. So I know we've got a couple of questions that different people have been asked, but with this roller coaster picture back up, I wonder, again, which car do you most relate to this morning? And what are you adventurously expectant for?
So one person who can't be here, who is in our group, is a guy called John Heaton. And he's asked me to just share a testimony of something amazing that God has done through his life in the last couple of weeks. John runs Eagle House, which is a charity that helps teenagers by taking them away up the mountains for a week and discussing life and their struggles. And these are the type of people that the job centres and the government doesn't really know what to do with. Some of them won't even get out of their own bedroom. And so he runs these courses to give them hope for a future, give them some confidence in their own well-being. And so one of the things he did, he applied to the police to get some funding. And the police came back, Federation came back and said, I'm really sorry, but, you know, we can't sort of like support a project that sort of treats people for not being part of society. And we're going, right, oh, okay, so it was fine. John left it and did all the application and everything and was rejected. Last week, he was at Holyhead Fair, and he was just walking. And this very senior police officer lady said, "You're John Heaton." So he said, yeah, that's right, I'm John Heaton. Phil Bradbury trains me in the gym. So she said, "You're John Heaton." She said, I'm from the local police. I had a phone call from the Federation saying, "Do you want this money or not?" And she said, "What money?" He said, "Well, the money for Eagle House. It's here, it's in our bank account. Where do we send it?" And he applied, I think, for £10,000. So she said, "I've got this money. I've got it." I said, "Don't ask me why they've made that decision. I have no idea why they've made that decision, but we're going to send you £15,000 this week." Now that, for me, is the bank of God. That's when man tries to put as many barriers in as they want, but God comes through and says, "No, on my terms, not on man's terms." And, you know, the police do a lot of good work. They do a lot of support and stuff like that. But isn't it amazing that he can get such a strong no, and we won't do it, and suddenly, all of a sudden, this money arrives and transforms, you know, and helps him pay for a whole course for another 6 to 8 young men and women. So, blown away by that. So that's John's testimony. So what we're going to get you to do in a moment is sit in your tables and talk about the 2 questions. Okay? And then pray for each other about the 2 questions. But there's one more person I just need to bring up here, and that's Rachel Sadler. And she knows nothing about this. Would you all just like to stand? Because we're going to pray for Rachel. And the reason we're going to pray for Rachel is Rachel, unbeknown to many of you, is one of our trustees. And she has decided after 5.5 years of doing operational support and being part of us, she'll still always be a part of us, but she's laying down the trustee bit. And, you know, this is a journey, this is a crossroads for her. So we just want to honour you and bless you for the last 5.5 years, because, you know, Alan and Rach need as much help as they can possibly get. And, you know, your support and love and the way that you have blessed us with your ministry and service, although quite unseen, has enabled us to be the lighthouse that we are today. So come here, we'll just want to just stretch your hands out and we will just bless this young lady. Lord, we thank you for Crossroads in our lives. We just lay everything down and we just honour and thank you for Rachel here this morning. Just thank you for all the work that you've done. I just also thank you and proclaim the work for the future. And I just know that you will carry her, you will bless her, and you will be with her. So we just want to honour you. And we just want to thank you for the service and the blessing that you have been to us as Lighthouse Church. And we just thank you that you are and always will be part of this family. So we just bless you now and your life decisions in the future. In Jesus' name, amen.